happened again. The original video got demonetized by the original owners who just had to wait until days after it was uploaded instead of while it was originally uploading it. So here's a board to disrupt the copyright bot, and the original upload can be viewed through the FilmBrony Fanatics membership. With that said, enjoy the video.
Time to exercise our vocal whatsits.
You know, out of all the analysis videos all over YouTube, from critically acclaimed classics, to franchise sequels good and bad, to infamous animated films in history, I bet that The Ugly Duckling, a direct-to-VHS animated film from the late 90s, was quickly faded into obscurity to the point where not even 300 people logged this on Letterboxd, was the last thing you'd expect to get one of these analysis videos. But being someone who has fond memories watching it in my childhood, has quotes and songs etched in my memory, included characters into my fanfictions, and has Scrubby as my profile picture, I guess you can say that I am burdened with glorious purpose. To be the very first YouTuber to do an in-depth analysis on The Ugly Duckling, 1997. So what makes this movie special to me, and why does it deserve to be seen by more than not even 300 people in the entire world? Well, before we get into the movie itself, let's get into the movie itself. This movie was a brainchild of one Martin Gates, who is also known for such projects as The Dreamstone, The Snow Queen, and Empire of the Sun? Its music was composed by Chris Caswell, who surprisingly has a fair amount of experience, including an arranger for a song in Iron Man 2, and even a Grammy nomination for the Muppet Christmas Carol. The interesting thing about this movie is that there's actually two English dubs, as when Hallmark brought this to the US, they decided to redub some of the voices for an American audience. Which is interesting because they kept the voices for the cat, the hen, and the stage director.
What do they call you? What is your...
Oh, for heaven's sake, Simone, leave it. It's only a duck. It probably doesn't even have a name.
Swear to renounce your lover and marry me, or by heaven, you'll never quit this spot alive.
But they changed the voices for Ugly, his mother, and those xenophobic ducks at the beginning.
Well, I do feel a bit sort of shaky.
Well, I do feel a bit sort of shaky.
We thought perhaps he might be, adopted.
We thought perhaps he might be, adopted.
He's big and strong and handsome, and I love him just like I love the others.
He's big and strong and handsome, and I love him just like I love the others.
Most notably, Scrubby was originally voiced by Shakespearean actor Imelda Staunton.
She's going to eat you! She's going to have you for her dinner! With oranges!
But then in the US, she was redubbed by Trial Sparkle herself, Tara Strong.
She's gonna eat you! She's gonna have you for dinner! With oranges!
And I'm sure the few people who actually saw this movie were first introduced to this movie through one of these old Kipper VHSs back in the day. It was part of a collaboration between Hallmark and Crayola to release a bunch of these, I'm sure, animated films you've never heard of until now, like Three Little Pigs, Percy the Park Keeper, and Tales from the Tooth Fairies. Yeah, I'm a guy who's seen this, and even I've never heard of these. This is one of those movies I watched a fair amount as a kid, and then I grew up and forgot about it. But then many years later, I saw a little movie, I'm sure you've heard of it, Avengers Endgame. When the scene came up with this rat saving Paul Rudd from the quantum realm, I was somehow reminded of the scene where Scrubby saved all those critters from the wolves. So in the midst of editing my Endgame spoilers video, I saw this movie for the first time in ages, and all those memories came flying back to me like Tommy Lee Jones watching that Alien VHS and Men in Black 2. So I guess you can say this movie always finds a way to come back into my life, and the only thing standing between this movie and total obscurity is me. There's only one Ugly Duckling 1997 stan, and you're looking at him. But that doesn't mean this movie's perfect. In terms of the animated films in 1997, this is probably itching within the bottom of the top 5, as that year wasn't really lacking in animated films like Anastasia, Cats Don't Dance, Hercules, Perfect Blue and Princess Mononoke with an asterisk. And being a direct-to-video animated film, this isn't exactly a perfect movie either. I could point to the animation being decent but not exactly Disney material, or one or two songs being both superfluous and frankly not very good.
Have you seen the newest newborns in the neighborhood?
Have you heard the latest gossip on the lake?
5 new baby ducklings born this morning.
And rumor has it one of them is something to behold.
An ugly duckling, so the story's told.
Roll credits.
What about some of the dialogue being kinda stilted?
Bullets. Used bullets. Poor Ugly. He must be wounded. I think he's not dead, just wounded. And just a little wound, probably. Just a small wound, probably.
But the biggest problem with this movie is the sense of pacing. As in, sometimes the film can either drag scenes for the sake of it, or just rush things to make up for lost time, especially in the first act. Like, the title character isn't even introduced until the 3.5 minute mark. Doesn't seem like much, but let's look at how it plays out. The camera just swoops around all these different characters and focuses on each of them for a bit like they're gonna be the main character, only to abruptly cut to the next character like it's an opening to Food Fight. Hell, it focuses on this family of rabbits for a solid 45 seconds. I mean, yeah, they play a part later when Ugly bumps into one of them, but it's not like they're a major character. Then when our protagonist hatches from the cell, it just rushes through everyone's reactions until these two lady ducks come into the scene. It seriously felt like one of the editors of the Spy-less Spider-Man universe edited this scene. I promise this movie gets better. There's a dissolve and cut to black like there's a passage of time, except it really takes place immediately after. There's one time where it just cuts to a scene a time after where it cut benefit from a dissolve like there, doesn't that feel a bit better? And even the scene where the two main characters first meet is technically treated like an I'm not gonna do that thing followed immediately by me doing it gag.
Would you like to join up and travel together?
No!
Do we really have to do the whole everyone says no but eventually joins anyway thing?
But okay, I talked about the problems I have with this movie. Now let's talk about the stuff that I actually like. Starting with... this movie certainly has a colorful cast of characters. Nothing amazing or anything, but it's true the writers and actors made sure to give every single one of them a compelling personality, from the prominent to the background characters. Hell, I'm pretty sure I got more out of this turkey that shows up for 5 seconds than literally anyone in Jurassic World Rebirth. Let's take Ugly's mother for instance. Throughout the bulk of the first act, it's clear she knows he's different from his foster siblings, but she still loves him for what he is, even coming to his defense whenever her duck neighbors even say a bad word about him.
He's a turkey. That's what he is.
Of course he isn't a turkey. He's my son and he's a duck.
What about the duck neighbors themselves? They say they mean well, but deep inside they're clearly biased against our hero for simply being different from the others, like some devil spawn. Even to the point where they don't even count him as part of the family, and even consider drowning him just to prove a point.
You could find out if he's a turkey by pushing him into the water. Turkeys can't swim, can they?
What an asshole!
What about that hen and cat who act so elegant and suave as to try to make Ugly feel at home before the owner cooks them up? But they end up being pathetic when they actually try to chase after him later. Hell, the fact that the house cat MD over here says his name is Tarquin while his owner calls him Tiddly Widdly just goes to show how pathetic he actually is.
And where's the duck? Now what am I going to give the family on Sunday?
Oh, they don't like falafel? Actually, that's not a bad idea.
There's also this Fox character who seems nice at first, but slowly unravels a dark, greedy side when he captures all these rats to help him make these pots to sell.
These three should be at home with their mother. They're only babies.
They certainly are. Nice, young, and willing to work.
And these wolves who are quite literally party animals who just want a nice feast to go along with their little get-together.
Long time since I tasted a nice, fat goose.
I'm not a goose. Am I?
Is someone behind me?
You got these theater rats who are all supportive and work well of each other as they try to put on the best show ever. These pompous swans who only talk about themselves and scoff at the very idea of Ugly's rat friends being friendly or even ironically human. Or perhaps the scene steals had gotta be these wind monsters that just pop out of nowhere, causing wintry chaos all around, along with this Tin Man thing dancing around. I just love how much fun they're having as they disrupt the weather and make everything frozen. Then they just leave the movie just as abruptly as they entered, and nobody talks about them again.
I was frozen today!
Hey Gabriels and Jonathan Young, I think I found the next duet for ya. So yeah, I talked about the side characters and how charismatic they are, either lovable or lovable to hate. But it's about time I talk about the true heart of the story and what ultimately makes this movie work. This movie showcases the power of friendship within our two main heroes, and the best way to explore this is from the beginning. Right off the bat, we see that Ugly is born to a family that loves him unconditionally in spite of him being obviously adopted. But when he keeps accidentally himself into all sorts of trouble with everyone else, crushing people under his weight, breaking someone's seesaw, possibly inspiring the funniest part of the Iron Giant, and so forth. And when he sees the news of him reach his mother, he has a little dilemma. Does he stay with a society where only his family tolerates him, or does he seek somewhere where he be completely accepted for what he is? Ultimately, he says, "Goodbye everyone, I'll remember all in therapy," and heads up to find a better future for him. Eventually, he comes across this young farm rat who at first doesn't want anything to do with Ugly, but she soon starts to warm up to him when he gives her this apple. As in, the only thing he's carried from his home, and he just gives it to the stranger he just met. That's just dependence right there. And from this first encounter, one can see that Scrubby's been hardened by her family rejecting her ambitions, but when she sees Ugly's kindness, she slowly lets her guard down and they decide, hey, I'm an outsider running around for a new future, you're an outsider running around for a new future, why don't we become outsiders and run around for a new future together? Soon we see outsiders become close companions as they try to stay dry during a rainy night, smuggle food from a local farmyard, and hang out in this haystack. And throughout this little montage, we can see that while they have extremely different personalities, Ugly being shy and timid, only wanting to find somewhere where he's treated with dignity, while Scrub is more outgoing in her ambition to fame, they ultimately share a common goal to find somewhere to belong. Eventually, Ugly gets injured, and despite Scrubby's constant efforts to make him feel better, he just can't. So while she leaves him by a pond to find some nourishment, he gets caught in the middle of open season and runs into this old lady who takes him in. And initially, he thinks he's finally found somewhere to belong as he meets the hen and cat who also live there. But when Scrubby follows the tracks over to the house, she overhears their plan to fatten him up and have him for dinner. And seeing that the only friend she's had is about to get killed, she gets him out and they decide that it's best that they stick together from now on. And throughout the next while, as Ugly grows in size and Scrubby continues to practice her rat, they do. Later comes this pretty underrated piece of foreshadowing where a couple swans practically crash into our heroes. Ugly looks at them and is intrigued by how pretty and elegant they are, but Scrubby just sees them for the uptight pricks they really are and convinces her friend to look away, ensuring nothing would get them separated again. Until they seemingly finally Fox takes them in and gets Scrubby captured, thus getting them separated again. Next day, when Foxy makes up the lie that she ran up to this traveling circus without a hitch, Ugly is understandably in disbelief. After all this time being with the only one who understood him and vowed to always be with him, could he really have left them all alone? But Scrub is not as willing to give up as he meets these other imprisoned rats and lifts out their spirits by teasing them the one song she and Ugly had shared. Then when he hears this familiar song from the wagon Foxy's pulling, he's quick to learn that she hasn't abandoned him and Foxy wasn't so trustworthy after all. So he gets her and the other rats out of this predicament and it seems like they're now even. She helped him get out of that old house and he helped her get out of being enslaved. Things don't get much better when winter approaches and Ugly is frozen in this lake and he gets captured by these hungry wolves. This time our two heroes seem to help each other escape as Scrubby frees him and some other creatures from the cages and Ugly convinces them to dance their way out of harm's way as the wolves are distracted by the song and dance. Later, as they seek shelter, they pass by this abandoned farm when they overhear this one rat about to kill another, but it turns out to be an act as it's just auditioning for a play. And after Scrubby impresses them with her acting skills, she convinces them to hire Ugly to do some backstage work. And as they, along with their new friends, get close to opening day, once again it seems like they finally found that place where they belong. And then the fire breaks out, which destroys the stage, and Ugly runs away thinking he killed everyone. And remember that scene earlier with him seeing those swans? Well, that comes back to him when he comes across this other group of swans who fight him over, revealing that he's been dead the whole time. I mean, he was on a futuristic Earth all along. I mean, he's been maturing into a swan the whole time. But when he realizes he's abandoned his friend, the swans scoff at the idea of him being friends with rats, thinking he'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Realizing their true colors, Ugly leaves with a huff.
I'm going back, and I'm going to search in the ruins, and you can f off.
Hey, you put a censor over that.
Does it even matter?
Other heroes reunite and laugh over the whole situation before they take flight past all the different characters and places they encountered, culminating in them return to where Ugly first started, to the shock and awe of the people who first shunned him, before he ended up in the arms of his mother as they ride into the sunset. Thus not only ending this movie on an impactful note, but cementing the friendship between Ugly and Scruffy, two outsiders who were looking for a purpose and ultimately finding it in each other. There are movies from my childhood that got better as I got older, and there are movies that got worse. And this is one of those movies that got better and worse as I got older.
I can explain.
It got worse because to an extent, the animation, dialogue, and pacing weren't up to par, but it also got better because as I got older and came to appreciate the craft of more and better movies, much like a certain sequel I guessed about earlier, I came to appreciate the characters and hidden themes that the filmmakers snug into the supposed kids movie. And sadly, for the time being, I may be alone. After this movie got released onto VHS, we were treated to a sing-along edition, a DVD release which got no attraction, and then nothing. This movie fell into such obscurity that it doesn't even have an official HD remaster or Blu-ray release. Then again, a lot of great movies don't have a Blu-ray, so just add that to the list. Nobody talks about this movie, and when I talk about it in passing, people look at me funny like they don't know what I'm talking about. I really do feel like Scruffy when everyone initially laughed at her for even thinking of reaching stardom. But much like her on that stage, I hope I convinced everybody that this movie's good enough to seek out and discover the beauty inside. And speaking of movies that got worse upon retrospect, I think it's about time I brought a little series of mine full circle and talk about the beginning of the end of another animated franchise that's near and dear to my heart. I mean, it could be worse, I guess?